Welcome to powder making class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we're going to be working on transferring our dot first pattern torso draft to manila paper, then removing it and truing it up. So here I've gone ahead and I took my paper draft and I stapled it to a piece of manila paper. This is hard paper. We make blocks out of it. I smoothed it down and stapled it, and I cut it out all at one time with my paper scissors. And I stapled it at the corners, the center front, along the side seam, and the hem. Now, once I've gone ahead and I've stapled it together and I've cut it all out, you want to grab an awl and you want to transfer all the necessary points. There's the apex and the dart tip, the 1/2 inch back off point, and here's the tips of the torso darts in the front and at the waist. There, we've just transferred all of those dart tips. Now you want to take your notcher and go ahead and notch out the side bust dart. That looks good. Go ahead and check that the armhole notch is up 3 inches from the side seam. And let's go ahead and notch that all the way through too. Great, now let's take the back. Go ahead and take your awl and go through to all the dart tips at the top, at the waist, dart tip at the bottom. Let's take your notcher and notch out the shoulder darts. And I just checked that these are at 3 and 3.5 for the back armhole notches. I just corrected them. So now that's looking really good. We've transferred our dart tips and our notches. Then take your staple remover and come to the back of this where you do not see the dot paper. And you're going to gently lift those staples up. Because I don't want to just remove them from the front without doing this. It could really wreck the whole block. And this block is something I could use for many years with pattern making. Once you make a block set, you can just trace it over and over again and use it for all your patterns. Now I've loosened those staples from the back. Now I'm going to go to the front and pull them out, and like I said before, I put them at the corners. That's at the waist, side bust dart. Here it's at the armhole side seam. I'm up here at the low point of the shoulder, high point of the shoulder, center front chest, center front waist. Now I believe I have all the staples off, but I don't want to rip my dot paper anyway, or my hard paper. So let's just see. Make sure I had a little tape in some corners, holding things gently in place. We go ahead and loosen that. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to transfer and put our darts in here, and then we're going to continue to work on the back. So we see, first off, the apex right there. Let's go ahead and go and draw our torso dart, our first one. This one is closest to the center front. This is a 1/2 inch wide and stops 1 inch below the apex. It goes 3 inches below the waist. And here's the second torso dart that's parallel to it. Now let's go ahead and let's connect the side bust dart, which also backs off 1 inch from the apex. And right there is its back off point. Here's the apex. And then that's the tip of that side bust dart. Now we can go ahead and draw our grain line. This block has no seam allowance on it. This is not seam allowance. This is a grain line. We're going to put arrows, and we're going to go ahead and label this. And this is our torso block. This is a size 8. Okay, you would also write your name and the date. We can draw more details on this as well. We can put the back off points for all of our darts, 1/2 inch away from the tips. If we were using an awl and punching through to mark something onto fabric, we would punch through at a back off point. We can go in, mark in 1/8 of an inch. There's our front. I'm not fond of a waist notch. You can put one in if you'd like to. Now we're going to continue on with the back. We're going to free up the staples from the back, and then we're going to go to the front and remove them. So we're at the shoulders and the center back. I'm on the center back. And this is the best way to transfer a dot paper pattern, a first pattern, to Manilla to make a block. We don't use hard paper for production patterns very much anymore. We just use them for blocks, which is a master pattern to have around basic bodices, torso, jacket blocks, sleeve blocks, jacket sleeve blocks, princess seam blocks, pant blocks. It's good to have a skirt block, a full set of blocks at your disposal to use for pattern making. Then you're not reinventing the wheel every single time you sit down to draft something. You already have a good fit and a master pattern to work from. So now let's go ahead and check. I had little teeny bits of tape on the corners to flatten this out a little bit. Yep, that's going to be good. Okay. But what I want to do before I fully remove that is transfer all of my dart tips. And even though I've already done it, it's done to this pattern, I'm just going to do it again so you guys get the idea. So dart tip at the hem, at the waist, up here at the dart tip again, below the armhole, and then one more dart tip here, the shoulder, and that's already notched for the armhole and the shoulder dart. So let's go ahead and remove this as I was doing, removing those little bits of tape that I had placed on there. That looks good. Now we're ready to go ahead and connect our dart legs, and then we'll write our information on our grain line. Here's our back torso dart. This torso dart stops usually 1 inch below the armhole. Here's our second torso dart, which runs parallel to the first. We can draw our little back off points if we want to, in case, like I said, in case we use drill holes to transfer. Go in 1/8, and then the top of the darts will go down 1/2 inch, and these are just to transfer marks to fabric, these secondary ones I'm putting on here. Let's go ahead and connect the shoulder dart. And then we have a back off point for that too. And now we'll do our center back grain line. For this torso block set, we would also have a copy of the basic bodice sleeve with any adjustments necessary to make it a torso sleeve. Might have just been leaving it alone or adding a teeny bit of ease in the cap. Let's add grain lines and arrows. And now we're going to go ahead and label this, and we want it to match this set, this over here, this front. So this is the torso block. This is a size 8. I've got my name on it, and I've got a date. This is the back, and this is the front. And that concludes our video of how to transfer the dot paper pattern draft to Manila to make a block set. I'm Annette Julie, and I look forward to seeing you in one of my next pattern making or sewing videos. Au revoir!